So whenever I have a thought that I don't know where I want to go with it, I like write like a email to myself, either in the subject line as like the topic, or like I'll write a little bit like a voice to text, something like that to myself. And something on December 1st. So we're recording this on December 16th that I wrote to myself. I don't know why. I don't know what the origin of this was, but it's something that is about Tim. And I thought it was really interesting. So, there's the power of the connection of the 5 people, you're whatever the, what is that? What is that?
The
like
the
average of the 5 people.
Average of 5 people. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. And Tim and I have been pretty close for almost a decade now. Well, we'll say 8 years. The first 2 years of that, I didn't know him. And the other year of that, we weren't friends. My fault, not his. Long story. We don't need to talk about that. But Tim, subconsciously or consciously, had during that done some feats that are really interesting that I don't know that they necessarily changed my life at that time, but I infused them. I learned about them, right? And so Tim has been running, is it 7 years, 5 years? How many years is it, Tim?
7.5.
Okay, so Tim has run every day for every single day, no days off, for 7+ years, at least 2 miles, right? A lot of those are 5, 6 each days. And so over that period, Tim has told me about these runs, some easy, some long, sometimes it's running, sometimes it's snowing, sometimes he's hungover, whatever it might be, all across the board. Not a lot of hungover aspects of it, but occasionally it's there. Right.
Power through.
And so we're consuming this information, right? And you never know when that hook is going to switch, right? And so about 4 years ago, it switched for me. And I had started working out again pretty religiously. And I remember I was at day 3. Tim, I don't even know if I've ever told you of how my streak started. I was at day 3 of working out. It was January 2nd. It wasn't a New Year's resolution. I just happened to go to the gym. And then I went, let's just call that Monday. Then I go on Tuesday. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm a little sore. I'm going to take a day off. And then I thought to myself, not what would Jesus do? What would Tim Ryan do?
Right? Same thing though, right?
Right. And I'm like, okay, well, Tim would still work out. And I wasn't running, but I was working out. I was doing something. And I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. I should probably work out. I don't recall what I did that day, but I remember that I did something else and I kept working out. Because of that, I got to day 4. Then I got to day 20. Then I got to month 3, year 1, year 2. And literally there have been some very incredibly fitness heavy days in there where I'll run like a 70.3 triathlon. So 70.3 miles, a half an Ironman. Then there are days where I'll just do something physical for just a couple of minutes because I'm not feeling the greatest of days, but I've done something physical for almost 4 years straight. And it's because of him. My moral of the story is that sometimes we're consuming information and it just isn't hitting yet. And that doesn't mean to stop hitting that, to stop consuming that information, but you're kind of like banking all this in so that one day that thing triggers over. And when it does, it's like, boom, let's go. And that's been a monumental thing for me. So sorry for my long ass rant, but because of Tim doing all of that, it led me to have four years of no days off myself.
Was this like the name for the StartWheel? Is that kind of the origin
story?
No,
that was something that was adopted, but
I never liked the name of. I always thought the name StartWheel. I never liked it personally, but
I honestly don't even know where the origin of that is from. But
way back when.
Yeah, just to circle back around though. I mean, if you back in the day, Ethan. I mean, Zack has gone through a pretty transformation. The transformation is pretty significant. But if you want to talk about energy, I mean, if you would look at some of if we went back and were able to go back to some of the events that Zack hosted or I hosted back in the day, I mean, there were some barn burner types of events. I mean, just
really.
Oh my!
I mean, not West Virginia University style.
Yeah, we weren't burning couches, but
pretty close.
That's what we do at Longwood.
I can think about Start Norfolk 3 having like some of the most energy Tim, you were at that one, right? Or is 4 the first one?
I
you went to?
was.
Yeah.
No, I was. Yeah.
Start Norfolk 3, Start Norfolk 2 is big. Start Norfolk 1. So it's like a build, like a startup weekend style thing, not affiliated, but build a company in a weekend competition. Start Norfolk 1 was kind of like that first push of like, okay, there is energy. And that was exciting times. But that was 7 years ago. Probably the last one I did, 2014.
Don't they say like once you're friends with someone for like 7 years, they're like family, no longer a friend?
I don't know. I've not heard that before. But I mean, Zack and I are certainly, we've been besties for a long, long time.
Like
he said it, not me. So we're cool.
That's awesome.
No, but again, the moral of that is like consume, bank that information, but make sure you use it at some point, right? Like implement it at some point. And so I think in my head, I always wanted to do that, but I had never done it. And I'm very thankful and grateful for Tim leading that on,
well,
and don't look at your bank account every day, right? I mean, or maybe do look at your bank account.
I appreciate that, Zack. Well, I mean, while we're riffing on all this stuff, I think the one thing that is tough for me with this area is there's a lot of mindset that, oh, I already know this. So if there's a training event or if there's a workshop or if there was something, then the attendance may not be where it should be, whether if I was hosting it or if I was just attending. And I can always think of a dozen founders that should be there, but in their mind, they already know it already. Whereas with me, like you, Ethan, I'm a continuous learner. And it doesn't make a difference if I already know the subject matter or not, or if I think that I do. But I love to learn. So even if there's nothing wrong with hearing something a second time or a third time, it's a great refresher. Or it might be phrased in a way that you had never heard it, that it just didn't resonate that same way.
It took me 4,000 days basically to turn the trigger on my thing of something that I knew.
Yeah, and not to mention, and one other thing that I tell everyone, it's like go to the events around this area because the content is one piece of it, but the other piece of it is the serendipitous relationships that are going to form with people that you haven't seen, and that's just as important. So one of the things that Zack always tried to create, and I always tried to create up in Williamsburg, was a sense of density, because you needed to have that when you would have these events, and not compete against one another and further divide. We need to have one event with 100 people as opposed to 4 events with 25 or 10 events with 10. I mean, it's just I wish that there was more participation.
Was it like that in New York when you went there, or was it you weren't there long enough to see?
Oh yeah. What do you mean, like startup events? Because
just like the energy aspect of that kind of stuff. Like there, it was you felt that people went and weren't there just from the educational standpoint. They networked. They like it hit all the boxes.
I don't think I met a single type B person in Manhattan. And when you go to events, everyone's trying to get their piece. Everyone's there for different reasons. Maybe they're looking for a co-founder. Maybe they're looking to educate themselves like me. I was just there to learn. But they're doing so very deliberately. And that's something that will never stop. I always begin with deliberate intent, whether it's to give or, when it's time to ask. It's very deliberate both ways. And it's probably something I learned in New York. They're there for a reason. They're going to make it clear.
Yeah. And I just want to be clear. I share this not because I'm trying to throw shade on the area or complain about the area. I say this in the sense of I want to challenge founders to go, support, be curious, learn. No, I guarantee you, if you go to an event, you're going to learn something or be reminded of something that you previously had learned. So that is my.
There's a guy who lives in New York. Maybe you met him. Ramit Sethi wrote a book at least twice. I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
Yep, I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard great things about him.
Yeah, so I feel like he's one of those like Web 1.0 guys that like really figured out the internet, put stuff out there, and then how to make money off of it later type of thing. But he wrote a book, A Finance Guy. He's like a solo finance guy. kind of similar and counter to Dave Ramsey, who's been a little bit more vocal on some of the bigger stuff type of aspect of it. But when I read his book maybe 8 years ago, among other things, one of the things that I remember as being the biggest thing was, look, this book is $15. If you can get one nugget out of it, who knows how much money that can get you out of it. So what are you worrying about, right? So, okay, there's this event, whether it's $15 free or whatever, can you get one nugget out of it? And I think sometimes maybe we look at it too big, and maybe that's why people, Tim, look at it so weird, is they're this like, oh, well, I'm not going to learn 1,000 things. I'm only going to learn one thing. Well, if that one little thing can change your conversions over, 2%, that 2% could be, the reason why you're making payroll every month, or raising billions of dollars every month type of thing. I don't think anyone raises billions of dollars, but you get my point.
That's right. Yeah.
Either
Quibi did. Quibi raised $1 billion and shut their doors 6 months later.
Yeah. Well,
they
Roku did not validate.
Roku bought the library, I think, for $100 million.
Yeah, Quibi.
Well, they did, and Quibi didn't validate their customers.
Stupid idea. Yeah.
I was excited for it. I have the attention span of a goldfish, so short form episodes sounded good.
Well, and now humans have a lower attention span than a goldfish, which is scary.
I've been directly involved within the startup community for almost a decade. I want to talk to you about a serious pain point: spending a ton of time trying to understand the business landscape in the 757. That's time that should be focused on growing the business. At StartWheel, we're here to help you by compiling all of the news you need to know about in one place. Now there's no need to search multiple websites. Just head to startwheel.org and see for yourself. That's startwheel.org.